Already you started. So today what we will do, so your lab will start from next week. Okay. Uh, you already got an email from me in which it has the Excel sheet, and there you are supposed to make your group. By tomorrow evening your group should be ready. I allow all the flexibility, like however you want to swap, but the number should not exceed 30. So for example, group 1 and group 2 will have 40 and 45, large number of students, right? So that number should not exceed, right? Apart from that, you can do all the swapping possible, but it has to be done by tomorrow evening. Just talk to among yourself. Tomorrow don't come to me, sir, मेरा ये course class हो रहा है, ये class हो रहा है, ये class है. Two things are possible. One is from students from group 2, group 3 can move to group 1 and 2 can move to 1 and 2, 3 and 4. After that, if there is some case where you want to swap with something, so it has to be done this week itself. From next week, once the experiment starts, I will not allow any swapping. So if people are not there, let everyone know. We will not allow the swapping once the experiment starts from Monday onwards. So most probably I will download this sheet on Sunday and will try to see that everything is done. If I don't see that people have made groups, I will make the group randomly based on and then I will stick to it. Then I will not accept any claims and say mera ye ho gaya, wo ho gaya. I don't want to hear all those things. Alright? So that is one thing. Group making is your prerogative. I am allowing it to be yours, but from Monday onward it will be mine. So I will ensure that Monday morning you will have a group which is finalized. At least from my side you will have a group which is finalized, and then I will not entertain any questions and queries. Okay? That is that. So second thing, so I have this announcement instruction booklet. I will say after this meeting I will send it to you guys as well. At the same time I will send it the manuals. Sorry. So you are not supposed to send it. I will send it. So idea is I will send it. Don't send the previous year. We make some changes. We introduce some changes, and we want to see what new things can be done. So you will get a new instruction sheet, right? And that will be available by Monday to you, right? And before that, so two things will be available to you. One thing is instruction booklet, and another thing is experimental manuals. Even if for example, he has shared your class convener is proactive and I like it, but despite that, if there is change, one I send it from my side. Just refer that as a final rule for everything. Alright. So there will be 4 instructors, 4 days experiment, 4 instructor. I will be a course coordinator, but then on every other day there will be separate faculty members who will be coordinating the classes. So for example, Professor Basu will be on Monday, Professor Vijit Raj on Tuesday, Professor Rajesh Khanna on Thursday, and myself on Friday. Alright. So this is you will have 2 laboratory staff, that is Vikas Kumar Bharti and Sridhar Sen. Along with that, there are multiple TAs. Now many times, and it has been observed in the past, that you just come in the lab, you even don't know what is the objective of the experiment. You have not read the manual, and the interesting thing is this. You start the experiment, then I start the viva, and then I ask what was the objective of your experiment. Still you don't know the objective of your experiment. This time we will ensure if there are such cases, simply if after starting the experiment, if you don't know the objective, we will set equal to 0, marks equal to 0, and you will be asked to leave the class. So you need to read your manual before coming to the class. If I find anybody, we will not give you the manual. There will be one printed manual in the lab, but that is for the TAs. You get your own copy should be there with you, right? And then you should have read it, what you are supposed to do, what is the objective, and all those things. So one idea that will be good for you, that when you write the report, you come prepared with at least one sheet where you know your team members, experiment number, what are the objectives that you want to find out in that experiment. You should be pretty clear, today I'm going to find out these 2 or 3 things, right? So I request all other faculty members, if anybody comes, first question to you will be the viva, what is the exact objective of your experiment, and if you don't know that, you will be asked to leave there is no sense. If you don't know the objective, how can you perform the experiment, right? And why I'm saying repeating this? Last time almost invariably I asked the student what is the objective of your experiment, and 80% of them didn't know, despite the fact they are already conducting the experiment, right? So there are 8, so for every day there are TAs. Now what is the role of TA? So what you assume is this, and what I assume is this. You assume I will go as a blank slate. They will tell me, it is the role of TA to tell me what to do. No. Role of the TA is not to tell you what to do. Role of the TA is in assisting. Suppose some equipment is not working. If you are seeing some equipment for the first time, you don't know where is the switch to switch on the pump. You don't know where is the gas. We don't know if there is a reagent. They are there to help you, assist you in that, not tell you, oh, you do this, you note this value, you note this value. No, they are not for that. That's where you have to come prepared, and you might assume, so far we have agreed, we might assume that sir bol rahe hain, from this year onward, we want to see the preparedness in the laboratory, in the sense that you cannot come as a blank slate and then expect the TA explain, and then you will complain TA does not know how to perform the experiment. They are not supposed to perform the experiment, right? They are supposed to help you. Hey, I need the sodium hydroxide reagent, I could not find it. They will get you the sodium hydroxide reagent. I don't have the measuring scale, I need to measure the pH. How do I measure? Where is the phenolphthalein reagent? So they are there to assist you in that. If you don't know how to run a pump, you don't know, so suppose something is not functioning, they will assist you in getting that functioning done. It is their job to ensure the system runs fine, but what to do, what data to note, how to note it, it is your job to find out, right? So so you should be very careful what you assume the role of TAs, not to, you don't, and I have seen this invariably. You just come without reading and then you ask the TA, sir, isme kya karna hai? Right? That will not work, and I will strictly advise the TA not to help you in doing that. They will help you if there is a problem, if there is setup requirement, if there is something which you don't understand. Of course, they are there around to navigate you through that, right? So that is one thing. So venue, sorry, I think I have written the wrong venue. So it is the old lab, so I have to correct it. So it's downstairs now. So all the labs are now downstairs. I will change the room number, and then also it's on the ground floor. And you might have done multiple labs there last semester also or previous year. So that's there. The lab has shifted to that place. Okay. So timing is 2 to 5. Now this is not a attendance policy specific to this course. This is invariable. It might not be applicable to this course, but these are some of the typical guidelines for the department, and we follow that. It might not be applicable to you in this case. For example, there is nothing like audit pass, but if such case emerges, then these will be applied. For example, there are students who just vanished for half of the experiment. There have been cases that they did not come for lab experiment. Next semester they want to, or in summer they want to do the lab. So in those special, mostly it doesn't happen, but there are off cases. There are off cases where these might become active in the sense that you cannot assume that you leave half of the course and then you get to ask for the can I do this lab course in the summer, or can I do this? So that will also be subjected to this policy. As such, this is common for all the courses in chemical engineering, not particularly intended for this class. Now, so tentatively, this is the lab evaluation criteria. It might change a bit, but right now, so we need to discuss some aspect of it. But like previous year, this is what we have been doing. So, for example, lab reports around 30%, lab session marks 10%, lab viva 10%, experimental presentation 10%, instrumentation report submission 10%, final Qs 30%. And the final instruction that you may receive, it might change, and if there is any changes, I will send it with certain qualification, right? However, Professor Khanna has a special way of doing some of the lab work, so we'll request him later on, he will come and explain you, and that will, if those things are implemented, we'll put in the instruction before, so by tomorrow, day of the end, you will have the finalized version of this one. But major component includes these things. Now, most of the time, for example, some of the things are very simple. For example, lab session marks. So for example, if you see the TA will have this seat, he will keep evaluating you. Suppose you are busy talking. There is one guy who has performed the rest of the other, so he will not even tell you. Very frankly, if you are continuously talking, not engaged with your experiment and with your group, he will have his own seat in which he will deduct marks out of 5. So for every lab, you will be given, evaluated by staff, and in terms of your general behavior in conducting the experiment. Are you mindful? Are you not just unnecessarily creating a problem? But there is a special marks for, suppose, most of the time you come at, many of you start coming at 215, 220, 230. So after 215, no report acceptance, and after that penalty will start coming up. Second thing, for example, report, timing of reporting, shoes, coat, manual. For example, you should come toe covered. Your leg should be, your shoe should be covering your toe. It cannot be flip flops or slippers or anything like that. It has to be completely covered. You cannot come in shorts. It has to be covered, and it is all for safety reason, because you might be dealing with sodium hydroxide, acid, base. So you have to, your body parts should be covered. That is the simple idea. It's all for safety purposes. If it is not there, then it's just like deduction of marks, right? So shoes, coat, and lab coat, which is covering up to this point, right? So that is, and manual, I have been telling you, most of the time you don't even have the manual. You come and I start asking the TSR manual, right? This will not work this time, right? So don't take any lessons from the previous batches, what they have done. And the idea is, it has to be 100% professional when you are conducting the experiment. Now, lab viva, it is instructor dependent. They will try to assess, understand what you are doing, how do you understand the experiment or not. Experimental presentation. Here, every group has to present just one presentation in this semester, right? And that one presentation will be, which presentation you will do? That will be your subgroup number. That, suppose I am group 2, my subgroup is 1, so I will do the presentation on experiment 1. Subgroup 2, experiment 2. Subgroup 3, experiment 3. Right? Now, what is expected there? I don't just want you copy the manual. No, that is not there. Manual is already written. I want to understand the back end and front end of that experiment. In the sense, for example, that experiment, some experiment has been designed. What is the application? Why this experiment has been designed? What are the features of this experiment? What are the features of the setup of that experiment? So suppose if I am doing some experiment which requires some pumping of the fluid, and there is a special kind of pump, suppose the peristaltic pump, you will use it. Or something requires the temperature measurement, something requires the pH measurement. I want those salient features to be brought into that. For example, temperature measurement. How does the temperature measurement happen? Like RTD, there is a RTD. Then what is RTD? What is RTD made of? How does it measure the, actually that is a rod, how does the number pop up on my screen? Can you bring those salient features, right? So idea is, second, then application. What are these analysis, when you go to analysis, what are the errors? What are the typical values reported in literature? For example, let's say some equipment has been running for last 5 years and you conduct the experiment, there is some error and there is a deviation. But how do I know how much deviation is there? So where should I refer to? You should refer to a literature paper with somebody, because these are very old reactions. So the value, for example, rate constant you will determine, activation energy you will determine, right? But these are well known. So question is, how far is your value compared to the experimental value which has been done in a maybe highly sophisticated setup. Here also equipments are just fine. You have to see how far it is going from rest report. So idea is, what are the newness that you can bring in that one, and through one experiment you have to showcase me that you understand why experiment is designed, how experiment is designed, and in future you can design an experiment. So that's why you are given to do only one presentation, and in that, apart from the general stuff that is there in the manual, you have to bring the USP of that. That, for example, you get the rate order, rate constant, and there is order of 10 to the power 2, 10 to the power minus 3. What is the meaning of that 10 to the power 2 or 10 to the power 3? That represents if a speed, what do you mean by it? Is it high speed or low speed reaction? So the idea is, I'm not testing your CRE, I'm testing, do you understand how to design an experiment and get into that? That is the part I want to understand in this experimental presentation. And it has to be highly formatted. It cannot be just you copy pasting things. Setup has to be properly. So I want detail. So for example, one slide will be on detail of the setup itself. What are the integral part of that setup? Do you know the name of that setup? Many a times I will go to the setup and I will ask, there is a pump, tell me what is this? People will not be able to tell me, oh sir, this is a pump. This is peristaltic pump. I will say, this is a knob which is going in the liquid. What is this? Sir, I don't know what is this. That means you don't have the idea to your element or temperature measure, but you don't know it, right? So the idea is, you have to know about that setup completely, and you have to showcase that in this. This one is instrumentation report. So idea is, the TA will have a list of the instrument that is involved in those experiments, right? There are multiple 10 experiments, उसमें कुछ instrument involved हैं. They will give you a list. You are supposed to prepare a scientific one-page report on that. And believe me, nowadays we know when you write with the ChatGPT or with that. So marks will be accordingly deducted, in the sense, it's okay later on to use ChatGPT, right, for changing your English to increase the efficiency. But right now at this stage you should learn how to write. Learn it. See, idea is key. For example, I told you, when the ChatGPT that you read few lines, you get it, because there are few jargons that keep popping: pivotal, consequential, synergy, paradigm. As soon as you start seeing those things, you easily know that this has not been written by you, right? And those are easy pickups. So the idea is, you have to use it, but I can do it this way. Suppose I write one page. So my language is I have certain language to write. I inputted certain technical information, technical knowledge. Then I can ask my ChatGPT to say, hey, can you fix the fluency of it? Can you fix the grammar of it? And then you can try to compare, oh, how did I write and how did this wrote? But then, unless until you put the technical information, for example, a pH meter is there. How does the pH meter measures the pH? That technical portion, ChatGPT will try to add the English part of it, but not the Nernst equation. Where does the chemical potential difference come into the picture? How those equations are applied to extract that controller जो कि display कर रहा है pH is 7.4. How did that number come from that knob? So basically there is a glass setup. You put it and then some number pops up. How this happened, right? So the idea is, don't just put a command in the Perplexity or ChatGPT, give me one page writer. So accordingly you will be evaluated. And then there is a final quiz for 30%, which will it's not your CRE test. So always a CRE engineering, we specifically ensure that this is not your CRE test. This is a test of your knowledge of 10 experiments that you will be performing. So we'll test that whether you understood your experiments or not. So that is the idea. If there is deviation in this one, we'll talk about it. I will include it and then communicate to you guys. I think Professor Khanna has something on lab reports, how to prepare, how to conduct. So if you can, and then later on we can see how to add.
I have mailed it to you.
Yes.
You can open it from there.
Yes.
So I didn't bring a laptop.
Okay. So just for your information, that thing has not been included in this instruction. After some deliberation, we will bring it back and get it to you. Okay. Okay. Let's do one thing. So let's do. I will quickly go through it and then I can open that. There's something.
No, please.
I will finish and then I will open. So another one thing that we try to promote is if you can design a working setup, or if you can find out if there are some mistakes in the manual that is given to you. Suppose you conduct an experiment and then you come and suggest some changes, but then you have to demonstrate that this is a valid thing, that there is a problem. Then you get certain bonus marks. So this will be available to you. There are things for the lab report in the sense that it will be a group of 3. Idea is it has to be shared thing. If lab report is submitted late, then there is a penalty on your lab reports, the 50%. It has to, so the report must contain all these typical things: the objective, theoretical background, procedure, sample calculation, quality, detailed discussion, analysis. All these things are typical things. There is one common cover page in which you are noting your data that has to be signed by the TA. So the one page that you take out on the day of experiment, that has to be signed by the TA that you conducted. These are the data and those are validated by the TAs that this is the real data. You did not just copy it from somewhere. Okay. So any report without the signed reading sheet will not be evaluated. So if you go taking the reading and if it is not signed by the TA, will set marks equal to 0 for that report for you. So do ensure after conducting the experiment, after taking the data, you get it signed by the TA. You get one buffer experiment, and again, so safety instructions are there. So lab coat is shoes, safety goggles are must, and then there is deduction on the marks. Entry into the lab after 15 minutes of commencement is not allowed. So if you come after 2:15, you are not allowed in the lab. Okay. Reading should be written with pen. At least one reading of them should be taken in front of the TA. So you should write with pen, not the pencil, so that you can do rejigging. If you miss one experiment, you will get one makeup experiment to do. Right? You will do one extra, and not coming to the lab automatically gets you 0 marks. So these are the 10 experiments that we will be doing this semester. There is one spare experiment. One more thing, at this point, we have not included some of the newer experiments we are designing. If the equipment comes in, we are in the process of purchasing some. See, the idea is we are also trying to evolve, right? And then one thing you will realize, CRE is important with all the industry, but nowadays, energy storage, electric vehicle, these things are becoming the current trends. And then what we are trying to do is that imbibe some of those experiments so that we start getting the flavor of those itself. However, those changes have just happened and we are in the process of acquiring some of those setups, right? And so that you can conduct experiment on battery, fuel cell, electrolyzer. Why? And the idea is this, that things will change moving forward and we have to change. So we are in that process. Although in our course curriculum we have imbibed it and we are in the process of it, if at least we'll try to see once the equipments are set up, we'll at least try to demonstrate it to you that we have this is what it can do, some of the electrochemical system, fuel cell, battery system, so that you get acquainted with it and it helps you in future. If somebody is interested, nowadays there is a lot of job portfolio with respect to batteries and fuel cell and other systems. So these are the common thing. I will open the department. So idea here is that there is something that Professor Khanna has devised for efficiently conducting an experiment and doing it more efficiently. You will get to see it, and then later on, whatever portion we imbibe here will be reflected in instruction sheet. Okay.
Thanks. So, welcome to this introductory session. And as you would have gathered by now that being in business and Romjesh is there to lead us. So I've been thinking about why we do anything. So I've been trying to answer that, and why, if I was a student, why would I do this? Why would I not do this? And what kind of future lies ahead of me? So that is our pet topic. So till now, I've been mostly lecturing, not putting down my thoughts, but as you grow old and you see the end, actually see the end, so you start kind of trying to build a legacy, and you say, okay, let me write down my thoughts. So these are very hurriedly put together thoughts, but they are in form of a manuscript, which this time I'll publish, and some of the data will be gathered during this course. Because any manuscript that goes into an education journal where we discuss how people should be taught or how they should learn, it has to be supported by some data. Of course, thoughts can also go, but if it's supported by some data, then it's very good. Okay, data is mostly in terms of some people that have been exposed to that methodology and some people that have not been exposed to that methodology. So it depends on we'll discuss. Romjesh will see. After all, this is a job semester, or is this a job semester?
Yes.
So this will help. This will help. So you see this very nice looking, formatting of this. This is typeset in LaTeX. I started writing in LaTeX in mid-90s. I never used Microsoft Word. I never used Windows. I've always used these kind of things. Okay. So this is title. I didn't write this. This is very heavy word, as Romjesh says. No, if you see these kind of heavy words, then it comes from somewhere else. But I wrote it. I can change it. I like writing. See, I try to create. So I'm never happy with somebody else writing for me. But I just wanted to show that this is the change that we come. If I have to write, I'll make a very general title. But everything else is mine. So this document outlines an innovative is, I will not say innovative is a very bad word, but laboratory teaching method for undergraduate chemical engineering students at IIT Delhi. And it has a role rotation. Okay, the idea is that to accelerate your journey to a professional world, okay, which means that you need to simulate things over here. And we simulate things, there are methods to do it, and things can be learned in a structured way. Okay. So this will, and let's look at the challenges that are there. And that's why it will especially make sense to people who are going for an interview. Okay. So we'll look at role rotation, which is typically captain, operator, strategist, reporter. I thought of these, but we can give them fancy names also, like president, vice president. There's that, if that helps. Or, but this is important, so there will be some roles. Then sustainability, will handle sustainability in this lab. In fact, this is a template for whatever things you're doing. So if as a template you pick up any course and you say, okay, let me look at these aspects in this course, which means that it's like a case. You see, you pick up something and then you say, okay, where do I see sustainability in this? Where do I see AI in this? Where do I see ML in this? So if you get into a habit of looking at things through this perspective, you will be hot for the interviews. You see, you'll be thinking those things, and which are typically the kind of jobs that you will take up. So not that you're not doing otherwise, but this will help you pick up any activity and look at it from this prism. Okay. So I've picked up sustainability, AI, ML, entrepreneurship, industry 4.0, 5.0. This is missing. This we are not teaching a lot, you see. And personal reflection to align with program learning objectives. And as you would be hearing this buzz of a new curriculum and outcome-based education and all kind of accreditation that we'll have to go through, which means that every course will. So institute as a whole would have a program learning objective, which means that if you're a BTech, then you should, if you've gone through this program, then you'll have this kind of learning objectives, and they have to be met. Which means that we declare them beforehand that you'll be able to do this, and these exist. I don't know if they have been shared with you or not, but these exist. So for a BTech from chemical engineering, a BTech program, these program learning objectives are there. Then BTech in chemical engineering, some other objectives are there. And then for every course, we'll have a course learning objective, which means that these are there. So 3 sets of objectives are there. Then these objectives, we need to check whether these objectives have been met or not. You see, so we also are becoming accountable now. And which is done by that we need to assess you on that. Which means the question papers have to reflect that, and the method of teaching has to reflect that, and then all kind of data analysis will be done. Okay? Something like so all kind of analysis then goes into play in this, which means that we look at marks. You can go as deep as possible. You see? And actually some of your seniors are actually consulting in this field, and they are now rising up the ranks, and they'll become very, very good with this educational technology, and they took up a job in that, and they're doing very well now. Okay? So some of you may want to talk to them. Okay? And now, which means that we need to look at your answers, your marks, and we say, okay, 60% of people answered this, 50% of people answered this, 60% marks are there, and that will then give us a metric that this course satisfaction, you see, matrix, or course how much have we achieved. So attainment. So the course attainment will be there at one level. Within the course, different learning objectives attainment can be there. Okay. Then at the level of when you have done all the 50 courses, 60 courses, and you are graduating, then we can look at the program learning objectives. You can look at all the courses that you have done. We look at all the CGPAs, all the grades that you've gotten there, and then we get a program attainment number. Based on that, we took in 120 students. So many students graduated with this CGPA, so many students graduated with CGPA. And within that, all kind of granularity can be there where we can look at. See, it can go to a particular lecture also, or to a particular question in one of the exams that you might have written. That this was linked to this course learning objective, this course learning objective was mapped to this program learning objective, and this is then the performance of the student. So something that, educational technology services, ETS, you would have written GRE, some of you would have, TOEFL, GRE, all that, these kind of things, SAT, GMAT, you see. So they do these kind of things, you see. And it's see, in the end, whatever happens in the classroom and whatever, goes through this, and you choose to act on it and you learn, is what matters. But this is that we are changing with respect to, let's say, scaling our education. See, if these kind of matrices are there, then the education will be scaled. We'll know, that, okay, more or less we are doing fine. Okay, so this is very important that we are also judged and accredited and tested as per what the existing criteria and how the world sees education and learning. Okay, so it's not that there is something wrong with us. There's nothing wrong with us, but this is one more method. You see, it will lead to a lot of lot of jobs, lot of rankings, and a way. It will help in delivering this. So this is written by me. It enhances student engagement, responsibility, and innovation through structured experimentation and reflection. So all that is written by me. And then we go down. It is continuous. So this, I think, you may agree with this or may not agree, but I think this is probably the truth. Engage students meaningfully or reflect the interdisciplinary, responsible, innovation-driven nature of the modern engineering practice. Okay, so labs are lab है अभी तो लंच किया अभी लैब है बैठे उधर कुछ चलता नहीं भीड़ हो गई है इधर लिक्विड गिर रहा है ये गिर रहा है और नाउ मंजेश look at मंजेश look at me and हम तो एप्रन भी पहना देंगे वो शूज भी पहना देंगे stuffy weather it is going to be here तो कहाँ engagement होना चाहिए. Okay, so but we'll try to make it meaningful for you because this is something that is not happening elsewhere. Okay, not in a structured way at least. So labs are actually very important components, and as some of you have taught, I keep giving a lot of things here and there. So two instances related to labs, personal experiences. It's not that I want to talk about myself. In fact, I would be very happy to listen to people. That's what my natural tendency is. But just because not enough people around me are speaking sense, I need to speak. You see? Otherwise, I'm very happy listening to all music of the world, everything. If somebody has to tell me a story, I'll listen. I'm very happy doing that. You see? But because there's not enough interesting things to listen to, we do all that. So I happen to top all the lab courses that I've been a part of as a student. You see? Which means that I got the maximum number of marks in the labs. You see? And I never thought myself as somebody who would do experiments. I thought myself as somebody who would just dragged into it. But somehow this with lab, I would enjoy doing things, you see, and analyzing things. So I somehow, ended up topping, and he is from the same institute, and not easy to top in any course. You see. Lab courses, 3 lab courses, 4 lab courses, topping all of them. So this is one. So I've done good experiments. I enjoy doing experiments. The second thing is one of the answer sheet was preserved by the instructor, and I got to find it. I found it many years later when I was visiting, and that answer sheet was there, and he would show it to people that this is how you should write a lab report. And that particular experiment, why I'm telling you, not because that was preserved. It is something that teachers do actually. See, so you may think that teachers are just not concerned about you. We do remember, if some student has done something special or something, it kind of registers, and we discuss among ourselves. We keep those things. So this lab report was preserved by a very khadus professor. You may not even see the like of those professors. That breed doesn't exist. You see, the society has connived to kind of get rid of those kind of people. Those kind of people existed, but not in your lifetime. You'll not see those kind of people. Maybe with Trump, with Putin, with these people, with Bibi, maybe you'll see those kind of people. I don't know. But not difficult to see them in the classroom at least, but elsewhere you can see them. But now you understand the kind of people. Okay? But to have him preserve that, and that experiment had 800% error. He talked about comparing your results with something that has already been done by other people, published with sophisticated equipment and everything. And we looked at the error, and the error was more than 800%, close to 1000%. Okay, and it was preserved. And I don't know, there's some ego which we don't realize, but we have. And there was an ego that we can't be that bad, 800%. He refused to believe that. And we explained that 800%. And we did 4 or 5 types of, analysis on the data, all kind of scenarios. Okay, अभी तो जॉब मिल जाती अगर ये सब करते तो डेटा एनालिसिस तो पता ही नहीं था. The kind of analysis we did in 3rd year, see, और ऐसे ही just like this We never thought that we'll do all that. अभी आगे कर रहे तो
Dependent
we'll get many. So we tried to explain it by 6-7 different methods, and he was very happy to see that we did very, and then we did the error analysis, the possible error, and the possible error came out to be 2000%. We said, the possible error is 2000% with the kind of things that you've given us, because each measurement would have some error, the equipment would have some error, we'll have some error, human errors would be there. So 2000%, we have got 900%, so we have done well. And we should be treated fairly, as a king would treat another king, that kind of thing. He was very happy. He kept that. He said, you have to be truthful. Many, many positive. It's just to say that, some people do enjoy doing that, without all of this. But that was a different time. The pressures were different. The jobs were assured. I don't know. I mean, life was actually very good as it's. There was no tension. At least not for me, there was no tension. But now the opportunities are very different. You see, and you are not at the right point of the spectrum. You see, you're not there. You are at a place where, unless commodities, not in trading, but actual commodities become important. You see, then you'll be in business. You see, then you will have a very good life. It's just that, with all this service economy and, all kind of trading and all that, somehow we have not been able to be in the forefront. You see. So for somebody who wants to be in academics, it may be okay. In research, it may be okay. But for somebody who's going to go out in the world and do things that are valued in the world, do things that they enjoy, and they have a reasonable chance of success, having a good life, pursuing those things, there is a handicap. There is. You see, there is a pot of gold, but then there is a very treacherous path. You work for 30 years, 40 years in a factory, and then you will probably enjoy much more than anybody else. Okay, but then who would go through those? I mean, once 40 years have gone into this hard work, what is left to enjoy? You see, I would have anyway enjoyed life. An old person is anyway at peace with life. He's just waiting for to go. He's not really bothered about what actually happens. सही कह रहे हो? भाई, साथी भी यही बताती हैं. Good. हमारा मेडल तो नहीं लगा के घूमते हो तुम उनका फोटो. So this has to make it count. Okay, and it will if you do all of this. Okay, so there is a framework. This is, you have to have section and everything, but don't do. There is a team composition. ये सबसे important. This is the most important thing. See, and can be done very easily. So depending on 3 or 4 people, there are 4 kind of jobs here in a lab. There is a captain, which is like a CEO. But we should always know if there is an activity, we should always know who to hand. As an investor, as a boss, as a parent, if I have many children, I should know कि क्या हुआ, किसको पकड़ना है. तो ये CEO होगा, captain, इसको पकड़ेंगे. कुछ भी गलती हुई, it's his job or her job. Okay, to get it done. और ये rotation से होगा. So in 10 experiments, 4 people, you'll get about 3 chances to be the captain, which means that, people have different personalities. Some people are outgoing, some people can delegate work, some people can hold other people accountable, some people are shy, they're good, but it's just that they don't enjoy talking to people unless they don't enjoy, other people doing their work. You see, different types of people, you see, not necessarily one is better or the other, just, different types of people. But when you're outside in the world, there are certain things that you need, just to function, just to earn some money, just to function. You need to be able to delegate work. You need to be able to ask for reports. You need to be able to assess people, promote people, fire people, give promotions to people, give, some encouragement to people. So you should be able to evaluate things. You should be able to have that kind of perspective also, which only some of you get a chance to do that. You see, not everybody. Only some of you would actually maybe heading a club or something, and you have to make a team. You have to choose the colleagues and everything. I hope you are looking at that, not the hostel or the wing, but actually looking at the person and deciding, which I don't think is happening. But maybe sometimes, with merit, one easy way to find out, if my team is good, I've been involved in sports heavily. I could have easily been a sportsman elsewhere. I think यहाँ भी हो सकता था. Very easy to find out which team is going to do well. I just look at the composition, and if it is well spread over all the hostels, then ये captain सही है. Nobody has to tell me कि ये captain अच्छा है बुरा है, because people will come and bitch and then tell कि ये करता है वो करता है. But if the team composition is distributed across different hostels years, और first year के लोग भी अगर उसमें हैं, मतलब if it is distributed, then the captain is already good. You see, I have understood कि ये captain ने सही काम किया, सही बंदा है ये. You see, अगर उसमें first year के भी कुछ और लोग हैं तो कुछ bonus point देती है उसको. यार ये तो exceptional captain है. You see, and you will see जो भी इधर स्पोर्ट्स वाले हैं कि इंटर आईटी में ओनली दोस टीम्स आर गोइंग टू विन जो कितने ऐसे डिस्ट्रीब्यूटेड. जो एक ही हॉस्टल एक विंग से टीम गई वो हार के ही लौटती. ओके, यू कैन डू दैट एनीवे. तो ये चांस नहीं मिलता है. दिस इज द रोल दैट विल नेवर गेट. ओके, ओनली सम ऑफ देम. ये बन गया लीडर तो ही विल डू दैट. यू सी, कोई कोऑर्डिनेटर बन गया वो करेगा. बट नॉट ऑल ऑफ यू. बट ऑल ऑफ यू नीड टू डेवलप एटलीस्ट दैट. I'm not saying you become an expert in, but at least go through that experience. The hope is, and the idea behind all of this is that if you have done some activity, if you are forced to pass through some kind of structure, then you learn this. That is the idea. Like the idea that if I repeat something 10 times, maybe you'll understand. A very, ill-founded idea, but very difficult to get rid of that idea. You see? So it is hope that if you go through this structure, maybe kuch seekh jayenge. होता है, that's how you learn. It's one of the methods is to do things and then maybe some of it will stick. So ये एक CEO का एक ऑपरेटर होगा जो एक्चुअली एक्सपेरिमेंट करेगा. Okay? Which means कि वो डिसाइड करेगा कि यार ये चीजें होनी है, तुम ये पकड़ो, तुम ये पकड़ो, तुम ये पकड़ो, ये करो, ऐसे करा जाएगा. And the lead on the ground वो होगा तुम्हारा चीफ ऑपरेशंस ऑफिसर, COO. तो कुछ लोग तो सिर्फ टेबल पे बैठते हैं, कुछ लोग काम करते हैं. सबको मौका मिलना चाहिए. कुछ कभी कैप्टन बनोगे, कभी CEO बनोगे. एक स्ट्रैटेजिस्ट होगा, इसकी तो कमी नहीं है. मतलब जो आईटी दिल्ली में वो भी केमिकल इंजीनियरिंग में वेयर दे गेट लॉट ऑफ फ्री टाइम टू लुक एट दिस स्ट्रेटजी. कौशिक, मैं सही कह रहा हूँ? कौशिक इज जस्ट बिकॉज आई हैपन टू लुक एट हिम. I said his name and I happen to know his name also. I could have given me. So if you have laughed only because of that, that's okay. But if there was some reason behind the laugh, the reason was unintended. Okay. So we look at strategists. Strategists का role बहुत अच्छा है, important है, because we look at critically and see क्या करना चाहिए. Okay. Every way, you see, the mind should be ticking to figure out what should be done, and that is what your strength is. You see, humans ऐसे ही we are physically, one of the weakest species. वैसे ही हम कमजोर हैं. You see, एक कुत्ते से नहीं लड़ सकते. You see, if the dog decides to fight us, हमारा दोस्त है तो फिर तो कोई बात ही नहीं. हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते यार. हम दिमाग से ही सब कर सकते हैं. इंस्ट्रूमेंट बनाते हैं, ये बनाते हैं, टीम बनाते हैं, स्ट्रक्चर बनाते हैं, लैंग्वेज बनाते हैं, रिवॉर्ड्स, पनिशमेंट, ये सब बना के एक बीटेक प्रोग्राम भी बना दिया इधर. चलता रहता है. तो स्ट्रैटेजी सबको आनी चाहिए. बिकॉज यू नीड टू एक्चुअली मे बी एटलीस्ट टेक केयर ऑफ योर ओन लाइफ. यू नीड टू प्लान. 50 कोर्सेज हैं, कैसे करें, ये डी करना है, ये डी करना है, इसके साथ करना है, वहाँ करना है, यहाँ नहीं मिला. You go through 50 bosses. You see, one of the reasons why you do so well is because you go through 50 bosses, and if you have handled all those 50 bosses well, कि किसी ने भी बुला के डांटा नहीं, सब जगह निकल गए हैं के सबके गुड बुक्स में. You have managed 50 bosses. सोचो, ऑलरेडी तुम जॉब में सक्सेसफुल हो ही जाओगे. मंजेश से भी डांट नहीं खाई, हमसे भी नहीं खाई, राठौर से, अनुराग से भी नहीं खाई, देवी से भी नहीं खाई, किसी से नहीं खाई. अगर सभी लोग अच्छा अच्छा सोच रहे थे उसके अंदर, you're too good. You see? तो ये कभी भूलना मत. If you look at an instructor, see कि क्या है इसमें, और इससे काम मैं कैसे करा सकता हूँ, इसके कोर्स में मैं कैसे अच्छे से अच्छा ग्रेड ला सकता हूँ, so that I am never on the wrong end of the divide. जब भी हो क्या कर सकता हूँ. And believe me, if you do this, कोई क्लास बोरिंग नहीं होगी. Because what you're doing is you're looking at that activity and saying यार इससे मैं benefit कैसे उठा लूँ. Okay? क्या फ़ायदा उठा लूँ, कैसे कर लूँ, उसको हैंडल कैसे करूँगा. Suppose this kind of person is my boss, फिर मैं क्या करूँगा. You see? और इससे मुझे काम कराना है. तो ये थॉट नहीं आता. See, remember in सेंसर कोर्स मैंने कहा था वो प्रेडेटरी इंस्टिंक्ट नहीं है हमारे अंदर, हम सोचते नहीं कि किसी से चुरा ले सकते हैं। उसी तरह से हम ये नहीं देखते सामने वाले को कि यार ये एक एसेट है या ये एक लाइबिलिटी भी है, तब भी इससे काम तो कराना ही है, अब इससे कैसे काम कराएंगे। इफ यू डू दिस विद 50 डिफरेंट प्रोफेसर्स यू आर ऑलरेडी डन, मतलब नथिंग एल्स विल। एक रिपोर्टर बना देंगे, आजकल तो रिपोर्टर्स का बुरा हाल है, कोई चैनल में बहुत बुरा हाल है, सब जॉब से निकाले जा रहे हैं, ये करे जा रहे हैं। ये जर्नलिस्ट जो लीगो हुआ करते थे सब फिनिश्ड, कुछ तो यूट्यूब ने फिनिश कर दिया, पॉडकास्ट ने, कुछ जो है और अदर काइंड ऑफ डेटा वो फेक न्यूज़ ने कर दिया, कुछ गवर्नमेंट ने भी कर दिया, गवर्नमेंट ने भी कहा कि नहीं यही चलेगा नैरेटिव। सो सब गलत। इन माई 50 years क्योंकि मैंने देखी न्यूज़, मे बी मोर देन दैट, बचपन से ही मैं सुनता था। कोई भी रिपोर्टर सही नहीं है, कोई भी न्यूज़ चैनल सही नहीं है, कोई भी रिपोर्टर सही नहीं है, कोई भी नहीं सही है, फॉरगेट इट। मतलब अपना माइंड लगाना पड़ता है कि क्या सच है। बट एनीवे इधर का रिपोर्टर जो है वो खाली रिपोर्ट बनाएगा, उसका काम है रिपोर्ट बनाना, एंड द कैप्टन विल एनफोर्स। रिपोर्ट तुम बना के लाओगे, और ये जैसे बताया ना कि इतने टाइम से कहीं जमा होगी तो मिलेंगे नहीं मार्क्स, तो उतने टाइम तक वो रिपोर्ट बन जानी चाहिए, कैसे भी बनेगी। द थिंग इज कि एक चीज़ कम है, ज़्यादा है, ये पावर नहीं है, प्रिंटर नहीं है, ये सब हम नहीं जानते। द कैप्टन हैज टू से कि आई नीड दिस रिपोर्ट। अगर तुम्हें उसको बग करना, रात में जगाना है, उसे उसका दरवाजा लाके भावा करना कि डेटा दो, तो तुम करो, दैट्स योर जॉब। जी आई नॉट लिसन टू दिस, आई नीड द रिपोर्ट। जॉब में तो यही होता है, तो जिसका काम है कैप्टन का रिपोर्ट जमा दिखाना, वो रिपोर्ट दिखाएगा, वो कहेगा कि रिपोर्ट कहाँ है, लाओ। और जो रिपोर्ट लाएगा वो हवा में तो बना नहीं सकता, बना सकता है एक शीट लगाएगा ना साइन, तो शीट के अराउंड ही बनाएगा ना रिपोर्ट, तो वो काम करना होगा। तो ये बहुत वेल डिफाइंड रोल्स हैं। इफ वी डू दिस इन दिस लैब कोर्स, जिसमें एक एक्टिविटी है, एक ग्रुप एक्टिविटी है, तो ऑल दोज पीपल हु हैव नॉट बीन अ पार्ट ऑफ क्लब, हु हैव नॉट बीन अ पार्ट ऑफ एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर जो कहते हैं, उनको भी मौका मिल जाता है ये सब करने का। तो इट काइंड ऑफ हेल्प्स एवरीवन। अगर और एंड यू डोंट नो, यू सी, यू मे नॉट हैव taken up a responsibility just because you want to do other things, but if you take this responsibility, suddenly you'll realize, because हम नहीं बता सकते, you yourself will realize कि maybe I'm good at it, maybe if I'm given this kind of responsibility I'll excel in it. तुमको नहीं पता कई बार, you're still growing up, you see, you have not tested yourself enough. That's what I think. You have not tested yourself enough in all kind of scenarios. So तुमको तब maybe you have, but कुछ लोग ऐसे होंगे जो ऑलरेडी जानते हैं कि वो कर सकते हैं। There'll be some people who will find out that they can do it, and there'll be a lot of people who will find out that they can't do it. But then it's a necessary skill. ये soft skill जैसी चीज नहीं है, it's a necessary skill यार, काम कराना किसी से, अकेले थोड़ी ना कर पाओगे। और God, ये सोता ही रहता है यार चीजें, अब ये ढूंढेगा। Thank you Romjesh. So we will do this. वो जो 4 वाला है, I think Romjesh वो तो कर सकते हैं, because it's kind of it's an overlay on what you have already thought of. Okay. और वो 4 रोल्स हैं, if there are 3 people then 1 people will do 2 roles by rotation, और by rotation से हम पहले से ही बता देंगे, तो वो पता रहेगा। तो आई थिंक ये इंटरेस्टिंग है। उसके बाद ये इम्पोर्टेंट है, द कैप्टन फाइल्स अ मेटा रिपोर्ट डिटेलिंग द कंट्रीब्यूशन एंड परफॉर्मेंस ऑफ ईच टीम मेंबर। ये इम्पोर्टेंट है, and makes recommendation on who to promote and who to fire. वो इंस्ट्रक्टर के पास ही आएगी, वो किसी के पास नहीं जाएगी, लेकिन तुम कम से कम एक जजमेंट तो दोगे। You'll be forced to look at, अभी क्या है कि you are not able to judge people, क्योंकि तुम दोस्त को दे देते हो चीज़, या किसी भी वजह से दे देते हो। You are not professionally judging कि यार इसने काम सही किया, इसने काम नहीं सही किया, तुम्हें 5 मिलेंगे, तुम्हें 3 मिलेंगे। You'll be forced to make a judgment। और believe me, बहुत डिफिकल्ट होता है to say that I'll fire somebody. It's very difficult. एक दो बार अगर करते रहोगे तो maybe you have done it even in a simulated environment, थोड़ा सा आदत हो जाएगी। ये जो big bag world है बाहर, बस फिट रहोगे। IIT दिल्ली वाली ट्रेडिशनली ऐसी दिक्कत आती नहीं है, सेट है वो। ये काफी फायरिंग ऑलरेडी हो गई होती है हॉस्टल, disappointment, kind of just teach them. But this will be a kind of professional way of looking at your team members' contribution, okay, and then taking a judgment. देन ये एक नई कुछ चीज़ें बन गई हैं, लोग लिखते हैं पर पढ़ाता कोई नहीं है, पर हम पढ़ाएंगे उसको, एंड वी अंडरस्टैंड दिस, यू सी आई हैड सम एक्सपीरियंस ऑफ ऑल दिस काइंड ऑफ थिंग्स, ओके। सो ना वोकिज्म है, ना लेफ्टिज्म है, ना कुछ न्यू एज थिंकिंग है, यू नो प्लेन जिसे कहते हैं ना ब्रास टैक्स, यू नो कि हम काम कर रहे हैं और ये करेंगे और हो जाएगा, you see, without any kind of leaning here and there, so don't see too much into the word here. लेकिन यार ये सब लिखा हुआ है करिकुलम रिव्यू में ना, हमको दिखाना पड़ता है कि ये हमने किया और हम करते हैं, but so for some people who would like to understand these words elsewhere because they'll be used elsewhere also, ये होता है actually थोड़ा बहुत. This is one. So each group must address 5 high impact reflection problems. Okay. And what those problems are? Greener engineering. So if you're doing something, find out कि इसको greener कैसे बना सकते, या इसमें हम footprint कैसे कम कर सकते हैं. The idea is कि if you have an activity and if you look at it from this perspective, you will at least develop that method to find out कि क्या green है क्या नहीं. Okay. AI, ML, data science integration. This will lead to lot of innovation, lot of new ideas. If there is something that has already been done, how can I improve it by using all of this? यार ये सब जो समझ रहे हो ना, जो पढ़े लिखे लोग कर रहे होते हैं, वो सब हम भी कर सकते हैं. काम तो हम कर रहे हैं ना, तो हमारे काम में how can I integrate all of this? So if you start thinking like this, ये काम है, ये क्लास भी हो रही है, तो इसमें हम AI कैसे इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं, डेटा कैसे इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं, ML कैसे इंटीग्रेट कर सकते हैं. You can do all that, you see, and it's not difficult if you start doing this in a structured way for all the activities that you're doing, and at least a very interesting activity which is academically, an experiment which has been running for last 50 years. बहुत पुराने experiment है, ये saponification और ये सब ये समय से चलते आ रहे हैं. Okay, so ये करेंगे उसमें, and this is a program learning objective. You see, so I can go to the director and say कि my students, I've included this and my students are doing this and this is how they do it. You see, so this will teach the students also, will teach the other faculty members also that you can include this. It's not difficult. Okay, हम तो ये पढ़ाते हैं, हमारे में sustainability हम कैसे पढ़ा सकते हैं? अरे ऐसे पढ़ा सकते हो. This is one way to include sustainability. 5-10 more minutes, yes. Please share. Entrepreneurial potential इसमें. So you look at all of this and you say, okay, मैं इसमें क्या कर सकता हूँ, इसका प्रोडक्ट कैसे बना सकता हूँ, and believe me, एक एक्सपेरिमेंट के कम से कम 10 बन सकते हैं. अगर नहीं बन सकते हैं तो मैं बना के दिखा सकता हूँ, ये ऐसे बनेगी, ये प्रोडक्ट्स इसके बन सकते हैं. They may not earn you revenue या ये कुछ, लेकिन आइडिया आ सकता है. Okay, so if you do that, टाइम चलने लगेगा. The idea is that if you start thinking like this, your mind will start operating in that way. ये पावरफुल चीज़ है, जैसे सिखाओगे वैसे सीख जाएगा. ओके, अगर उसको ये फंक्शन करोगे, ये एक्टिविटी करोगे, वो शार्प होता जाएगा और इट विल हेल्प यू. फिर इंडस्ट्री 4.0, 5.0, ये क्या है, इसमें बहुत ह्यूज अमाउंट ऑफ मनी इज टू बी मेड. मतलब हमारे समय में मंजेश नहीं था ये ओपनिंग. If this opening was there, तो क्या होती लाइफ, the kind of money I would have earned. ये अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं थी. The only way to earn money was to work hard and स्टॉक का वो हर्षद मेहता के टाइम से वो डर गए लोग. जेन स्ट्रीट से पहले हर्षद मेहता हुआ करता था. उसको AI नहीं चाहिए होता, ह्यूमन इंटेलिजेंस चाहिए होता. ओके, सो ये ह्यूज अपॉर्चुनिटी है which is of all the things that I have presented, therein lies a huge potential for all of you. मतलब इसको क्रैक कर लोगे किसी तरह से. ओके, तो there is huge amount of money to do this. मतलब फैक्ट्री तो कहीं नहीं जाने वाली, मटेरियल अपने से तो बन ही जाएगा, बनना ही है, मैन्युफैक्चरिंग होनी ही है, काम होना ही है, सर्विसेज भी होनी है. इस मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को स्मार्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, हर समय लोग कहते हैं स्मार्ट मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, रैपिड प्रोटोटाइपिंग. अरे यार ये है क्या, इसको पढ़ो तो पहले क्या है. तो देयर इज एन इंडस्ट्री 4.0. हमने कुछ नहीं किया, हम 4.0 में भी बहुत पीछे हैं. ओके, केमिकल इंडस्ट्री 5.0 तो भूल ही जाओ. तो इसको देखो, पढ़ो, तो एटलीस्ट सम ऑफ यू वुड हैव नाउ एक्सपोज टू दिस कि यार ये कुछ होता है. मतलब इतना सारा मूवमेंट हो रहा है इंडस्ट्री 4.0, हम कर ही नहीं रहे, हो के खत्म हो गया, हमने किया ही नहीं कुछ। हम छोटी छोटी चीज़ों पे चलते रहे जो वॉट एवर यू नो कुड फिल्टर टू दिस कम्युनिटी, और उसमें भी कोविड आ गया बीच में, तो देयर वाज अ ब्रेकेज। तो जो भी लीगेसी से और जो फिल्टर होके यहाँ आते रहे कैरियर्स, यू नो स्टूडेंट स्टार्टेड, और फिर जो फैमिली से आए, इधर से आए, उधर से आए, नेट से आए, ये सब हुआ। बट टिपिकली ये सेट ऑफ अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं हमारे लिए, उसके बियॉन्ड हमने देखा ही नहीं, हमारे रोल मॉडल्स भी नहीं है, हमने देखा भी नहीं, एंड देयर वाज नो वे फॉर समबडी टू कम्युनिकेट टू अस कि देयर इज लॉट ऑफ मनी टू बी मेड इन दिस, ह्यूज पोटेंशियल, मतलब कोई है ही नहीं इधर। ये भी एक प्रोग्राम लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव आ जाता है। फिर पर्सनल ग्रोथ, दिस आई वुड रिक्वेस्ट दैट एवरीबडी मेल्स एंड टेल मी, एक गूगल फॉर्म वगैरह कर देंगे इसमें, जिसमें कि आई गेट इन्फॉर्मेशन कि यार करना क्या चाहते हो, मतलब तुम्हें क्या करना चाहते हो भाई, और एंड हाउ दिस एक्टिविटी काइंड ऑफ हेल्प्स यू, इन द होप दैट if there is an activity that can be tailored to whatever your journey is and whatever you want to become, maybe you'll get interested in it। बहुत बड़ा if है, तुम्हें बता रहे हैं कि तुम्हारे काम आएगा, तुम्हारे लिए अच्छा है, तुम भी मान रहे हो, फिर भी नहीं करोगे। क्यों नहीं करोगे? क्योंकि रात में देर से सोगे, सुबह देर से उठोगे, फिर एक हैबिट है, पीयर प्रेशर है, फिर देर मे बी हैबिट ही नहीं है, किसी ने ऐसे कान पकड़ के उठाया ही नहीं, किसी ने ऐसे कॉलर पकड़ के खड़ा ही नहीं किया कि क्या करोगे लाइफ में, किसी ने नहीं किया, और तुमको तो कर भी नहीं सकते, इतने लंबे हो, सो डिफिकल्ट। आई मीन ऐसे ही कह रहा हूँ कि इट्स नॉट इजी, मतलब इसको लिफ्ट करने के लिए तो इधर हमको पेडेस्टल पे होना पड़ेगा। यू आर ऑल्सो क्वाइट टॉल, वो तो लड़का है, यू नो आई कैन मे बी पकड़ भी सकता हूँ उसको कस के, स्ट्रॉन्ग दिख रहा है, तो you know there is a chance कि if I slap him also he is okay, he will not get damaged। तो मैंने सबके साथ तो नहीं ले सकता ये रिस्क, तो ये करके देखो, एक बार बैठो तो लिखो, तो एटलीस्ट 10 लाइन तो लिखो कि करना क्या चाहते हो, यू नो। और एक होप है यार, अगर ये एक्टिविटी तुम कर रहे हो एंड somehow if you can see some merit in it, तो भैया चल जाओगे इस रास्ते पे, अदरवाइज कोई गारंटी नहीं है, फिर भी नहीं चलोगे, क्योंकि अभी आदत नहीं है उस तरह से, क्योंकि बहुत सारे और प्रेशर हैं, द वे यू एक्ट, बट दैट्स आल्सो ओके, ऐसा कोई प्रेशर नहीं है, क्योंकि सबकॉन्शियसली तुम्हें पता तो चलेगा ना। द मोमेंट यू विल राइट डाउन, हाफ द जॉब इज ऑलरेडी डन। इफ यू सिट डाउन एंड राइट डाउन 10 थिंग्स, 10 डिफरेंट आइडियाज कि आई वांट टू डू दिस इज लाइक, यू नो, यू आर ऑलरेडी सॉल्व लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स, ओके, एंड देन वो रहेगा मन में, चलते रहोगे उस पर। तो ये भी करना पड़ेगा कि भाई क्या किया, समथिंग लाइक दिस कि मैं डेलीगेट नहीं कर पाता था, एंड दिस लैब हैज टॉट मी हाउ टू डेलीगेट वर्क, ओके, या मैं बोल नहीं पाता था, बट दिस लैब हैज टॉट मी टू मेक द प्रेजेंटेशन एंड स्पीक इन फ्रंट ऑफ द, कई चीज़ें, पर्सनल चीज़ें, या मैं साइंस समझना चाहता था इसकी, मैं साइंस नहीं समझ पा रहा था इसमें, या मैं एंटरप्रेन्योर बनना चाहता था, मुझे कुछ आइडिया नहीं मिले थे, आई लुक एट 20 थिंग्स एंड मुझे समझ में आया कि ये आइडिया हो सकता है, यू नो, एनीथिंग, व्हाटएवर योर जर्नी इज, वो तो तुम्हारी अपनी है, नोबडी कैन क्वेश्चन दैट। तो ये सब हो गया, और ये सब है इसमें, ये लो, ये दीज आर ऑल प्रोग्राम लर्निंग ऑब्जेक्टिव्स, ये बड़े बड़े लोगों ने बैठ के सेनेट में बनाए हैं, ओके, और सेनेट के बाहर भी बनाए हैं लोगों से पूछ के। फिर ये असेसमेंट एंड फीडबैक है, ये थोड़ा सा हमें देखना पड़ेगा, ऑफ कोर्स, यू नो, फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल, यू नो, द इंस्ट्रक्टर्स हैव टू कम ऑन बोर्ड ऑन दिस, क्योंकि ये मंजिल मैंने अभी बनाया, आई कुड नॉट शेयर इट अर्लियर, और मेरे पास लिखा हुआ था, बट आई डिडंट वांट टू शेयर इट इन दैट फॉर्म, कि थोड़ा स्मार्ट होना होगा, ये ठीक नहीं है, मैं इसको प्रॉपर स्लाइड ही दिखाऊंगा, इफ स्लाइड इज व्हाट पीपल वांट, लेट मी मेक द बेस्ट स्लाइड, ओके। सो मैंने बनाई स्लाइड, एक्सपेरिमेंटेशन 30%, ये सब दिख जाएगा, रिपोर्ट क्वालिटी 20%, रोल फुलफिलमेंट 20%, इनोवेशन रिस्पॉन्सेज 20%, ये सब हम उसमें ओवरले कर सकते हैं, ओके। पर्सनल रिफ्लेक्शन 10%, depth and sincerity in thinking, ये सब है, you know, this very straightforward, the English is not difficult, learning outcomes and ये दो mapping, ये सब हम submit करेंगे इस कोर्स करने के बाद, and when we write the manuscript and we'll have this example of the course, then we will, you know, take data from this course and then publish, okay। तो उसमें ये सब दिखाना पड़ेगा हमें, वो metrics chart, I've done that, so I know how to do it, ये टेम्पलेट्स एंड रूब्रिक्स हैं, ये रिपोर्ट टेम्पलेट बनाने पड़ी है. Title of the experiment, team members and roles, objectives, materials and methods, observation and data analysis and discussion, answers to reflection prompts, conclusions and recommendations, personal reflection. कितनी बढ़िया, पूरे सब बना दिए मंजेश. You know, I've come with everything ready. Okay, और ये इसकी स्टाइल फाइल भी दे सकते हैं, so that you just fill in and so overheat में ये लोग करते हो. The captain's beta report template. Operators performance, strategies performance reports, the most valuable member, least contributing member, team coordination issues, whom to promote and why, whom to fire and why. बढ़िया है. किसी मैनेजमेंट कोर्स में किया है ऐसा? नहीं किया. How do you compare this kind of activity with, let's say, a leadership course? तुम बताओ.
एक कोर्स में
क्या हुआ था उसमें?
मतलब ग्रुप बनी थी 15 लोगों की और उसमें फिर लीडर था, जैसे मैं ग्रुप का लीडर था, तो मुझे एक फॉर्म मतलब सबके स्ट्रेंथ वीकनेसेस अकॉर्डिंग वो सबके.
और कैसे उसके वो किसके बेसिस पे करना था?
बस जो एक्टिविटीज कर.
Did you do a common activity? So based on the common activities, you have to fill that form. इस तरह से था कि 4 रोल अलग अलग हैं डिजाइन.
इतना स्पेसिफिक
यही तो मैं कह रहा था, कहानी सुनाते रहते हैं लोग. ओके, चाहिए क्या होता है? एक ब्रेन चाहिए, एक ब्रॉन चाहिए, एक जो है वो चाहिए इधर से सोचने वाला कि किधर जाऊं, क्या करूं. एक होता है जो प्रेजेंट करे, एक होता है जिसकी गर्दन काटी जाए जब काम ना हो तो. ओके, उस तरह से जब बनाते हैं देन इट बिकम मोर रियलिस्टिक. एक्टिविटी होगी, दैट्स पर्पस, बट आई एम सेइंग दैट दिस इज मच मोर रिफाइंड. मुझे इसमें जल्दी जल्दी कर ले. ये भी बन गई है. अब फिर ये आ गया इवैल्यूएशन क्राइटेरिया. एग्जीक्यूशन ऑफ द एक्सपेरिमेंट, ये जो उधर बनाया था ना उससे मैच करना पड़ेगा. इनोवेशन इन रिफ्लेक्शंस, टीम कोलैबोरेशन, प्रोफेशनल एथिक्स, ये सब तुम्हारे टीएसआर को दे देंगे एंड टीएसआर विल फिल ऑल दिस. ओके, फिर ये चैट जीपीटी ने बनाया है 6th वाला इम्प्लीमेंटेशन गाइडलाइन. तो कैसे इम्प्लीमेंट करेंगे हमें तो आता नहीं. ज़्यादातर इधर टीचिंग जो है ना, टीचिंग की तरह होती है वन वे. हमको हेल्प लेनी पड़ती है अगर कुछ सिखाना है कि सीखेंगे कैसे, सीखेंगे इसका इम्प्लीमेंटेशन कैसे होगा, ये हमको नहीं आता. क्योंकि हमारी कोई चेकिंग नहीं होती. हम जो पढ़ा देते बस पढ़ा देते हैं, हो गया. नहीं कुछ सक्सेस मिली तो यार कुछ आता ही नहीं है, इसको पता ही नहीं आता ही नहीं. ये नहीं सोचते कि यार ये 4 साल हमारे पास पढ़ा था यहाँ पे, हमने उसे मेस का खाना खिलाया, हमने उसे बेड पे सुलाया, हमने उसे ग्राउंड में भेजा, हमने उसके लिए एक्स्ट्रा करिकुलर चीज़ें बनाई. इसके माँ बाप मुझे दे के गए 4 साल पहले, हाँ हमने उन्हें क्या वापस दिया 4 साल बाद. ओके, अगर 4 साल बाद दे दिया तो ठीक ही दे दिया, अगर 5 साल बाद दिया तो 6 साल बाद दिया, ऐसा भी होता है जी. तो हमें कोई नहीं पूछता हमने क्या किया जी. लेकिन अंदर कभी तो हम सोने जाते हैं, हमें याद आती है कि हमने क्या किया इसके साथ. इसको फेल कर देते तो शायद भी सुधर जाता. फर्स्ट ईयर में फेल कर देते तो शायद सुधर जाता. समटाइम्स यू नो वी थिंक लाइक दिस ऑल्सो, यार इसको क्यों नहीं पनिश किया, इसको पनिश करते तो शायद आगे बड़ी प्रॉब्लम से बच जाता. यू नो, इसको हम छोड़ते रहे एंड सी व्हाट दे हैव डन. यू नो, ये भी होता है. क्या कह रहे हो? कुछ बोल रहे कोई? इधर देखो कंक्लूजन एंड आउटलुक. ये एक बढ़िया चीज़ है, ये हमने थोड़ी बहुत करेक्ट करी है. एंड आई हैव नॉट स्पेंट दैट मच टाइम बिकॉज़ इट वाज बिगिनिंग. फिर रेफरेंसेस भी हैं, जैसे ये डेस्कटॉप रिपोर्ट है, 2003 का डेटा है, 2004. ये मैं इसमें रिसेंट वाले डाल दूंगा. जितने पुराने डालो एजुकेशनल टेक्नोलॉजी में तो कहेगा कि यार इतनी पुरानी चीज़ें कह रहे हो, कुछ फायदा नहीं. 2024, 2023, 2022 अपना करिकुलम रिव्यू का भी डाल देंगे. आईटी का भी करिकुलम रिव्यू 2025 बढ़िया बना देंगे, उसको प्रेजेंट कर देंगे, गेट पब्लिश्ड. और तुम लोगों का डेटा तो रह गई, अटेनमेंट लेवल्स. ओके, और तुम्हारे अटेनमेंट लेवल्स देखेंगे. तो इन शॉर्ट दिस इज द आइडिया. आई एम वर्किंग ऑन दिस डॉक्यूमेंट एंड मैं इसको अच्छा बना दूंगा. एंड सम ऑफ इट विल बी employed in this lab, but I've spent a lot of time with students, maybe about 20,000 students. I remember talking to at least 20,000 students, this capacity, and not just lecturing in the class and knowing their journey also. And this is a training that will help you. You see, एक leap of faith होती है teaching में, because teaching is time bound. 3 साल की, 4 साल की, एक कोर्स की 15 मिनट की, 20 मिनट की है. इसमें अगर हम तुम्हें बेसिक से लेके पूरा पुराण पढ़ाएंगे तो नहीं पॉसिबल है ना. So there somewhere there has to be a leap of faith. You have to believe in कि यार ये सही कह रहा होगा. You see, वो तो जम तुम्हें लेनी ही पड़ेगी. It's not possible, टाइम ही नहीं है ना. मैं गुरुकुल की तरह तुम्हें ले जाऊँ उधर 18 साल तुम्हें पढ़ाऊँ, वो तो नहीं कर सकता. जी, अब एक लेक्चर में सब समझाना है. तो कहीं ना कहीं पे इफ़ यू हैव फेथ इन दिस, इफ़ इट मेक्स सेंस टू यू, एटलीस्ट थोड़ा जाग जाओ. 3-4 महीने बाद इंटरव्यू है, वो पूछेगा लाइफ में क्या करना चाहते हो. समबडी और द अदर विल आस्क यू. कोई HR वाला तो पूछेगा ही कभी ना कभी, किसी राउंड में तो होगा ही. अगर 4-5 बार पहले से कर लोगे, और अगर 4-5 एक्टिविटी भी करनी है और उसमें रिफ्लेक्शन भी कर लिया कि हाउ जो करना चाहते हैं क्या किया उसके लिए, क्योंकि वो 3-4 लेवल ऑफ क्वेश्चनिंग करेगा. क्या करना चाहते हो, इसके लिए क्या किया, उसमें क्या हुआ, ये क्यों नहीं किया, तो कहीं झूठ पकड़ा जाएगा, कहीं पे मेड अप आंसर होगा, इट विल बी कॉट. तो सक्सेसिव लेयर्स ऑफ रीजनिंग होगी, क्वेश्चनिंग होगी. तो एक बार इसको कर लो, इट विल हेल्प यू अबाउट जो सॉफ्ट स्किल्स हैं, सो कॉल्ड सॉफ्ट स्किल्स कहते हैं, या फंक्शनल स्किल्स जो हैं तुम्हारी, जो तुम्हें एक ग्रुप में, एक आउटसाइड वर्ल्ड में कैसे फंक्शन करते हैं. ओके, वो सब सीख जाओगे. उनके बारे में कुछ तुम्हारा दिमाग खुलेगा एक बार, तो एटलीस्ट वो करेंट है, यू विल नॉट बी सरप्राइज्ड. और बाकी तो तुम्हारी CGP है, तुम्हारी लक है, तुम्हारा किधर इंटरव्यू होता है नहीं होता है, क्या तुम्हारी जॉब होती है, फिर तुम उसके आगे क्या करते हो, दैट्स प्रीटी मच अननोन. प्रिपरेशन अच्छी है, एंड दैट इज इन आवर हैंड. प्रिपरेशन ही तो है हमारे हाथ में, और है क्या. देयर इज नथिंग एल्स दैट इज इन आवर हैंड. हम प्रिपेयर कर सकते हैं, एंड दिस इज, बिलीव मी, इज अ गुड वे टू प्रिपेयर. मतलब तुम्हारी एक्टिविटीज़ भी सही होंगी, एक स्ट्रक्चर्ड तरीका है, एंड आई कैन एक्चुअली बी वेरी स्ट्रक्चर्ड इफ आई वांट टू. सर आप ऐसे तो नहीं, पिछले कोर्स में तो सर पता ही नहीं चलता था क्या हो रहा है. तो पिछला कोर्स ऐसे ही था, वो मस्ती का था, उसको वो जा ही रहा था, तो हमने और धक्का दे दिया, सो दैट पीपल हु विल गेट रिड ऑफ दैट लेक्चर विल नॉट फील गिल्टी अबाउट इट. कहते यार ये इसी लायक ही था, इसको जाने दो कोर्स, क्योंकि उसका वो था ही नहीं, उसका तो अपेंडिंग है. बट दिस पीपल कैन बी वेरी स्ट्रक्चर्ड, एंड दिस स्ट्रक्चर्ड वे कैन हेल्प यू. ओके, एंड हैव फन इन द लैब. मतलब मज़ा आता है बहुत लैब में, बहुत ही मज़ा आता है. यू डू थिंग, देखते हैं सामने क्या हो रहा है, कुछ करने को मिलता है, अदरवाइज काम मिलता है. वे कौन तुम्हें टेस्ट ट्यूब देगा, कोई देगा टेस्ट ट्यूब? तो वो कौन सी एज थी जब तुम्हें गैस जलाने की अनुमति मिल गई घर में, कि अब तुम गैस जला सकते हो? 10-12 साल में. सोचो 10-12 साल के तुम हो गए, मतलब अब ये उसके बाद तो बेइज्जती हो जाती है कि अब टीनेजर बन गया, अभी भी नहीं जलाता. 12 तक ने दे दिया कि टीनेजर से पहले कम से कम गैस जला ली. ये हाल है यहाँ. तो तुम्हें हम तो पूरा एक्सपेरिमेंट करने को दे रहे हैं, सब कुछ दे रहे हैं, फिर करो, देखो क्या होता है, सोचो आगे लाइफ में एंजॉय करो. नहीं मंजिश, हम लोग तो खूब एंजॉय करते हैं चीज़ों को. जो एक छोटी सी एक्टिविटी ये है ही क्या, कुछ भी नहीं है. अगर मतलब पूरे कोर्स में, पूरे करिकुलम में मंजेश ये नहीं बुलाता मीटिंग, मैं यहाँ नहीं आता, मैं ये भी नहीं करता, तुम सब भी नहीं आते, फिर भी लैब हो जाती, होती तो रहती है, वहाँ चले जाते, थोड़ा बहुत इधर उधर धक्का मुक्की होती, कुछ होता, एक्सपेरिमेंट हो ही जाते. बट वी ट्राई टू क्रिएट दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी कि यार कुछ बनाते हैं इसका. तो ये भी एक लेसन है, एक छोटी सी एक्टिविटी भी बड़ी बनाई जा सकती है इफ़ यू हैव द कंट्रोल. जी, आई एम द इंस्ट्रक्टर, हमारे पास कंट्रोल है, हम इसको बड़ा बना सकते हैं, कितना भी बड़ा बना सकते हैं. मतलब पेपर लिख सकते हैं, 1 नहीं 4 पेपर लिख सकते हैं उसमें, और इतने सारे लोगों की हेल्प कर सकते हैं कि एटलीस्ट एक जगह रुके तो अभी जब शॉर्ट लिस्टिंग हो जाए और शॉर्ट लिस्टिंग नहीं हुई या जॉब नहीं मिली, तब झटका लगे, तब जागो. मुझे अभी जाग जाओ, वैसे तो समर में ही जाग जाना था, लेकिन अगर नहीं जागे तो कोई बात नहीं, अब जाग जाओ. अब कम से कम अपना देखो कि लाइफ में क्या किया, क्या करना चाहते हैं. ठीक है फिर.
So one thing we'll do, we'll try to see how to integrate this in the instruction manual. We'll try to see how the things will change in the policy, and we'll send it to you guys. ठीक है ना? But your experiment starts from Monday. Group should be ready by tomorrow evening. Excel sheet is available with
किसका
all
सर
of
टांगोगे वो बता.
हाँ. Class rep. So it should be done. I allow the full flexibility in terms of the fact that you can swap with each other, but most of the people have to go from group 1, 2 to group 3 and 4. Don't come on Monday saying that this mera group nahi bana, this, that. Don't come with the excuses. Ensure that that thing is done. And if you have any doubt, so you have full freedom to do anything, but until tomorrow evening. After that, I will take the call. Okay. Any questions? Sorry, yeah.
नहीं पूछना इंटरव्यू भी कहते हैं यू हैव अ क्वेश्चन फॉर अस तो क्या कहोगे ऐसे मुस्कुरा के चले जाओगे क्या कहेगा कोई बताओ किसी ने तो सिखाया होगा तो इंटर्नशिप तो मिली है इंटरव्यू तो हुआ होगा तो क्या
हम क्या करेंगे आके हम कैसे करेंगे आके किसके अंडर काम कर रहे होंगे what is expected from us लेकिन वो सब तो आपने अच्छे से समझाया है पूरे इसमें तो स्टैंडर्ड क्वेश्चन एटलीस्ट तो नहीं है
आंसर तो आना चाहिए ना किसी एक यंग माइंड अगर क्वेश्चन नहीं पूछ रहा है something is terribly wrong.
That is a common thing. If any interviewer will always ask you any question, and if you don't ask it, that's a -1 already. You can take it for granted.
वो माइनस जरूरी नहीं है कि सिर्फ माइनस हो माइनस पूरे ब्रैकेट के बाहर भी लग सकता है समझ रहे हो ना माइनस ऐसे यूनरी माइनस भी होता है ना डायरेक्शन चेंज कर देता है नॉट जस्ट कम ज़्यादा करने वाला माइनस डायरेक्शन चेंज करके माइनस होता है ह्यूमन वेक्टर्स में तो यूनरी माइनस माइनस में बहुत बुरा सडनली यू नो इट बिकम्स लाइक और डेथ rather than like थोड़ा बहुत कम हो गया माइनस डेल्टा
So only thing I can tell you, see what we are trying to do here, you can take it as an example of this. So whenever you are asked any interview questions, right? So many times we just randomly say something, but that can be structured. I do remember in many classes, I don't know if you have done, so we always talk about the management say as STAR principle, situation, task, action, results, and then summary. So that if you are asked, tell me your weakness, so you tell a situation, then what did you do, what is task, what action did you take, and what result came out. So in particularly in case studies, this gets taught that if you are asked any question, tell me about your leadership skills. So you cannot say, oh, I'm a good leader, I can be a very good leader, I'm doing this as a leader, I'm doing that as a leader. No, that's not how you answer. You answer, oh, this was a situation where I was put in the leadership position. As a leader, I took these tasks and then these actions were taken. As my leadership, these results came out. So if you frame your question in a strategic manner, putting a situation into it and then talking about it, they understand, oh, you are talking a real story, not just making up something. So these things get taught in MBA course for businesses.
ट्रेनिंग कोर्सेज प्रिपरेशन होती होगी ओसीएस कुछ कराता होगा वर्कशॉप चेस तो करानी चाहिए कुछ वर्कशॉप करा लो लोगों को बुला के सिखा लो यार कि कैसे
And if the leader doesn't do anything, you should catch him.
Sir, mostly last year you conducted courses internships. Students didn't come.
No, they'll come. पकड़ के लाना पड़ेगा.
So currently we are trying कि awareness ज़्यादा बढ़ाएं और सबको घसीट के.
अगर तुम रोज एक उसमें तुम बनाओ बुलेटिन बोर्ड या समथिंग एंड रोज पोस्ट करो कि so many people fired.
All right, yeah.
एक में नंबर नहीं सेव स्लाइड बनाई पुरानी कहते कि डेटा का लगे नहीं करी बट हम ये बोले कि मुझे पता चल गया तुम इससे मेरी पिचिंग करते थे वो तुम ये कम है ये करा हुआ ये तो बहुत करा है रैंक भी करूंगा